Hi, friends. I was here to talk on the fence people. Um, Tried to go back to bed. Well, felt quite rested. Ended up not being able to go back to sleep. It's almost 7 a.m. Um, Yesterday was the first day in the last 4 or 5 in which I got my typical afternoon nap. And I got a good, 3 or 4 hours of nap yesterday. That's kind of an important factor in my normal set of operations. I normally take a nap during the day. So this morning I just took a couple Adderalls, not very many, just 2. I'll probably take a third here at some point. I want to see if I've restored sufficient dopamine in my brain with sleep that just 2 of them is adequate to get me going. I want to make trip videos today. Everything finally finished syncing with Google Photos last night. It took a long time for everything to upload because I had some big videos on my phone, but it's all done syncing, so I have all the files. Emailed Anthrax, it's you who are sexy, okay? I'm sex-ish, but you are truly sexy. Being sex-ish is not bad. It's a second tier below. It's a tier below sexy, though. I'm sorry. You're a tier below sexy. That's what the ladies have always told me. Did you say I'm sexist? No, sex-ish. Not quite sexy. Oh, yeah, Mom always told me that. So I haven't pulled any bong rips yet this morning. I obviously need to do that. I need to get my porchy borch because I need either that or my butane refill thing. Here's my porchy borch. So I am here today to answer all your questions, to fill your brain with amazing insights, to talk about prophecy, talk about profit making, and to talk about preferences. I'm here to do all those things. And in the process, to tell you, what's your question, Fate Land? How sexy are you? Extremely sexy. Mind-blowingly sexy. That's how sexy you are. Is that your question? A lot more sexy than me. About the same amount of sexiness as emailed Anthrax, who's also extraordinarily sexy. Remember, I'm still at the level called sex-ish, which is a level below sexy. But it's above sexless. No, you can ask a function question. Go ahead. Dysfunction questions are okay too, but no disjunction questions. Only ands, only conjunctions, no ors. No, extroverted intuition is not a future-based function. It's present, basically. I mean, the thing about future present is it's better to say, well, it depends what you mean by that. Like, it's not a physical function, so it's not a real-time function per se. In other words, it operates in conditionals. But during exchanges between people, it's basically real time. The reason is because my extroverted intuition is dominant. It's fast enough that it can be sort of immediately responsive to things on the fly, as though it were a interface function with a knowledge function. Well, it's not because it's real time. It's because everybody else is slower with it. It's not very concerned with the future. No. That's something knowledge people are concerned with. Rather than talking about the function in isolation like that, it's better to say, like, well, which types are most concerned about the future? Knowledge types, both SI and NI. And SI, you go, well, that's a past function. Well, yeah, it is. But the reason knowledge types are knowledge types is because they're always trying to know. They want to know ahead of time what's going to happen. Whereas as an action type, I want to start whatever it is and figure out what happens as we go along. Action types want to learn by doing. Knowledge types want to know before they do. Rachel's been digging on the Mexican candy that Andy gave us. I have a confession to make. I don't like Mexican candy. I've never liked Mexican candy. It's always got like spices in it and stuff. Like, why are you putting chili in your candy? You know? Okay, what do you mean by a set future? I'm talking about static future, for example, rocket ships or hover cars. Oh. Well, I mean, normally people extrapolate from certain trends in the present to draw conclusions about the future. One of the ways in which people are wrong in making predictions of the future is they assume that the vector they're extrapolating from is predominant or determinate. I would say that the NI types are the most likely to be set on what the future is going to be like, be convinced of their NI, you know, like you'll listen to Winston's mom's prophecies. This is very much related to the prophecy question, right? Should you ban someone? Because I didn't say hi, Eileen, yet. I'm in the middle of answering this question, Eileen. Chill out. it's like, Winston's mom has her predictions and stuff. Rachel seems to know similarly about things. Like, that's not going to end well. She might say about some couple getting together or something. She's got strong opinions about Grimes, Elon Musk's girlfriend, and how that's going to end, I guess. But Rachel doesn't have a lot of strong opinions about, like, this is what's going to happen in the politics arena or something like that. Winston's mom tends to have opinions about that. The thing is, occasionally I'll make predictions or suggest things. Rarely. When I do, people should listen, but never do. When I recommended to my dad to buy gold around the time of the Iraq War, I was correct. He didn't buy it. It skyrocketed. When I recommended to everybody to buy Bitcoin early on, I didn't listen to myself. And I listened to Corey. Corey's the one who said it. I agreed with him. And I suggested everybody, and nobody listened. Including me. I didn't listen either. The thing is, I think NE-DOMs are better at predicting than NI-DOMs because we do a lot less predicting. Right. But the thing is, remember, NI does that after considering all the facts, consolidated a single outcome within that person. So in other words, an NI-DOM is going to consolidate the facts they have, the context that they're in, and according to the knowledge that they have, and so forth, like that, right? But it's poorly suited for open system, chaotic systems. So, for example, once you get too many variables or vectors in the mix, it's no longer a predictable system. Only some kinds of systems are predictable. So, you have to, an NI-DOM will do that. Though it's true they're not going to rush to a prediction. It doesn't necessarily mean their prediction is correct. Depending on how far out it is and what it's based on, it may be totally wildly off base. Well, no, it's wrong in its assumption that every system is subject to its form of knowledge. And that's when NI is wrong. NI is basically right every context in which it works, but it only works in some kind of systems. The problem is when you get NI users who are trying to apply NI to world politics and stuff, it is beyond the NI. You cannot use NI for that. It's not subject to that because it's a chaotic system. You have to be more heuristic based. I'm saying that the future is a part of a map. The future doesn't exist in the reality part yet, right? It's part of a map. For the past or the present, we can check the map and the territory against each other pretty well, and we can verify things like that. We can check, see, yes, my map is right or my map's wrong. Predictions are much more difficult because you don't have a reality check against, you're waiting for it to arrive. People are very subject to confirmation bias. They'll remember the predictions that get right and they'll forget the ones that get wrong. What NI tries to do is sometimes take over the job of FI. So, for example, when Rachel was not being herself and catastrophizing and stuff, and we're having problems, it's because FI wants to know how you're going to feel about something later on. But that's not NI's job. That's FI's job. So, like, NI is likely to determine a quality within a given dynamic that's going to ultimately fail. So, like, an NI dom is going to stay in, is going to, let's say a relationship is failing, but it's early in the failing process. An NI dom is likely to note that this vector is not going to change and it's going to destroy the relationship eventually, and probably be correct about that if they're being a healthy NI dom. I've noticed that I'm fairly bad about predicting what's not going to happen. Like, it took me a long time to believe that Trump had any possibility of winning. There's no way people are going to elect that man, I thought. But when, once it was Hillary against him, it was just like, and once it just turned out the Republicans had nobody good. And, it took me a while to think, okay, maybe he will win. I didn't anticipate this COVID shit going so hardcore, right? Like, they're not going to shut down March Madness. Come on. They did. Who knew? Look, human beings generate ideas. And you can get to the same destination from lots of different angles, okay? So, it's important to remember that a great idea is a great idea because of what it is in relationship to something else. It's not a great idea in a vacuum. So what that means is well, put it this way. When you talk about whether something's a great idea or something, what you really mean is like, did this person produce a media object or words on a page or something like that? Again, brainstorming. Okay, is an any DOM going to be the best brainstormer? Yes. Or possibly any tool even be a better brainstormer than any DOM. But brainstorming is just generating a bunch of random ideas that link in some fashion. Whether or not any of them are good ideas is another question. And that's something that introverted intuition is able to distinguish between those bad ideas and good ideas. Or at least ideally pick one to go with and stuff. Hi, Ned Ludd 1811. Bro. Brohansevich Homfrizakon. Yeah, it's true. Email answers. Bill Clinton's a good was a good president. That's not true, email anthrax. He was not going to steamroll any competition. He didn't have any competition. No, when you keep trying to make a cognitive function subsumed by time status, it's not like that. In other words, you're a human being who's applying your cognitive function stack towards different circumstances and situations, sometimes appropriately, sometimes inappropriately. The prime directive means that everybody is very concerned with the consonants of map and territory, in particular about the future, because the future has a place on the map, but not in the territory. So, extroverted intuition is one way to approach any given circumstance. If it's something very familiar and not unexpected, it's a way to generate novelty. Remember, functions don't do things. People attend via a function, okay? We use this reification fallacy all the time, and I understand it's some sort of shortcut, but we really need to work on stopping using it. And I'm guilty of it too. SE doesn't look into the future, okay? A person has a map in their head, right, of the world, including the present, past, and future. They have some understanding of what's going to happen in the future. Whether or not they're actively making a lot of predictions or whether they're operating on assumptions, it depends on the individual person. If I'm locked into a job that I do regularly every day, and I know what's going to happen basically every day, then I'm not probably making a lot of predictions about the future. I'm not probably having any cause to. If I'm liberated as Eric is to just sit around an armchair philosophize all day, I may or may not be making predictions about the future. Right now, I'm trying to describe something that's timeless, namely a taxonomy of human consciousness that applies and has always applied and will always apply. When I talk about politics, I'm almost certainly talking about it from a normative perspective, namely what it ought to be rather than what it will be. I mean, like I said, you look at me as an example. Note that I'm not making a lot of predictions about the future. And the reason is because I understand that as an extroverted intuition Dom, I understand well, this is something my dad does not understand at all, when there are too many variables to extrovertedly intuit. If you have extroverted intuition with TI, it means if there's a limited number of variables enough, then you can play, okay, well, if it's A, then we'll B. But if it's B, then we'll D. And if it's C, then we'll E, you know? That kind of generation of possibilities and such is plausible as a way of dealing with a choice presented to you, okay? What function is if you say this, you also mean this? That's TI. That's TI. That's TINE. In other words, you mean things that I can infer from what you said as well as what you actually said is TINE. Like I always said from the beginning, Dark Phoenix. People don't want to listen to me. Anyway, yeah, what I say is if I'm talking about politics, I'm making normative statements. Here's how it ought to be versus here's how it is. I'm not making predictions because I'm an action type. I actually don't like to know too much. My basic position is that the future hasn't happened yet, and we don't know what's going to happen because I haven't decided yet. I haven't made it happen yet, you know? Like, the idea that we can predict the future is implicitly a knowledge function notion because action types believe we can make the future. And interface types think we finagle or schmooze the future. And deliberation types think we deliberate about the future. In other words, the deliberation types are the more deliberate form of the action types. The interface types, the knowledge types are the more deliberate form of the interface types. Right. Well, see, that's the thing. We're action types because there are two external fields. You can take action on a physical external field, like an SC-DOM, or you can take action on a metaphysical external field, like I'm doing right now. I'm taking action by talking and responding to you, Fatewind, because now you're presented with a different set of circumstances with which to respond, because I've impacted the external metaphysical field with these words and responded to what you said. And now you have a new set of words to consider about what it means to act. If we don't understand that there are four fields: internal metaphysical field, external metaphysical field, internal physical, and external physical, then we can't meaningfully talk about cognitive functions, because people attend and take action, they attend to and act upon and are responsive with one or more fields, and there's certain mechanics to that I really need an INTP to figure out for me. Any isn't time-based, you can produce a new idea about past, present, or future as long as it is triggered. I understand. Sure, that's a good point, Hermetica. Extroverted intuition is linked first and foremost to introverted sensing, which means it draws from my memories most of all, as all extroverted intuitors do. And the thing about the novelty is you have to know what's come before to know what's different from what comes before. And the core idea of extroverted intuition is novelty. Why is that future-based? Why is idea generation future-based? And look, being the most prolific idea generators does not mean you're the best idea generators. But it does not mean, and the thing is, what you're mistaking, Fatewind, is you're calling turn-based future-based, but it's not. Turn-based is turn-based. That is, say it's not real-time, but it's not future-based. It's conditionality-based or timelessness-based. If we're talking about conditionality stuff, like if Bob goes to the store, then Mary will stay home, it's not really locked into any time space. It's conditionality time. Well, that's an idea about what to do. But these aren't ideas about what to do physically, right? These are ideas about what positions to hold timelessly. In other words, we're saying one of these positions about one of these sets of words is an accurate description of the way things are, permanently and timelessly. And one of them is an inaccurate description of the way things are, permanently and timelessly. Extroverted intuition is turn-based in that sense, because it's communication-based. The metaphysical fields are metaphysical because they're communicative fields. They're not experiential fields. I drank coffee, now I'm 50% right. We're just waiting for Eric to see if I'm right about him, and one of you in the chat will drink flavored water. Oh, you're making predictions. Good. That's not an idea, okay? That's a need. Fadewind. Somebody says, an idea is something that is like, oh, I've got an idea. What if I were to run the electricity around through this circuit instead? Or something like that. That's an idea. The best inventors, I think, are probably ENFPs, because they have both extroverted intuition and extroverted thinking. Or possibly INTJs, because they have introverted intuition and extroverted thinking. Okay, well, what I'm saying about timelessly is it's a status that has no sunset date on it, implicit. If I say that you are hungry right now, we both know that sometime later you're going to eat and you won't be hungry. So if I tell Bob, Ned Ludd 1811 is hungry. Bob's not going to assume a week from now that Ned Ludd 1811 is still hungry, right? Because after all, there's an understanding that hungry is a temporary status that's conditional upon our continuing to maintain eating. If I tell Bob that Ned Ludd 1811 is tall, he's going to assume you're still tall next time he sees you because that status is permanent. In other words, it's presumed to be unchanging. Now, when we're talking about something like well, sure, I'm not saying that things can't change and interrupt that. It's not actually permanent. I'm talking about how we treat it when we communicate about it. So in other words, if I say you are, if I say you're dead, well, the way we talk about it when we communicate about it is that you're going to remain that way. You're not going to come back to life anytime soon. Dead means that you're not around anymore. Now, it might be the case that somebody does come back from the dead, but that's irrelevant. We're not talking about the fact that it's not whether it's actually permanent. We're talking about the nature of the status, not the nature of reality. This is one of the biggest problems people have in talking about cognitive functions. They continually mistake the symbol for the thing. We have to understand what the symbol is, we have to understand what the thing is, and we have to understand the difference. We do have statuses that have different forms. Now I'm just talking about map making things. Forget about reality, right? On the map, certain statuses are designated permanent, and certain statuses are designated temporary, and certain statuses are designated timeless, and certain statuses are designated time sensitive, and other things like that, to represent qualities implicit in the world. Now, is the word permanent the actual, in its literal definition, actually representative of how the thing in the world is? No, but it is correctly drawing a distinction between something that does exist in the world, namely statuses that are known to change and statuses that are static, right? So whether or not it's the exact right word for static statuses, it draws a distinction that needs to be made because the distinction exists in reality. You see what I'm saying, Ned Ludd? What I like about any is no matter what you do, you always look for a better way, easier way to get things done. Well, a better way, easier way to get things done, that's a very NETE mindset right there. NETI, first of all, looks for ways in which things people say are wrong, as I just did with your statement there, right? I don't know who Emmylou Harris is. I do not know. I really don't like arguing about cognitive functions, frankly, because the people I'm arguing with, it's like I have to go way back down to the bottom of the explanation because they're trying to argue up here, but they don't have anything underneath them. If someone said Eric is a communist, do you think naturally this is a temporary state or a timeless defining symbol? Well, I mean, I think if somebody were to say I'm a communist, they would mean it as this is this political identity is part of my ontology that we can assume it's not going to change. Now, they might be wrong about that, but that's how they're trying to present it. That's what they're trying to communicate about it. We have to remember that what I'm talking about is what people are trying to communicate, not what is necessarily. There is something that we're communicating about, and the way we communicate about things can be very misleading. That's true. What's TI that's deductive? I'm not sure what you mean there. The study of DNA, not biology, but glorified taxonomy. I'm not sure what to make of that. I'm not sure what you're talking about when you say that TI is seductive. Oh. More or less, but I don't really know what inductive means. People use the word, but I don't think they know what it means either. I mean, what do you mean, preponderance of the evidence? There are things from which you can communicatively infer, necessarily, therefore, communicatively infer, and there are things that you cannot communicatively infer. That's it. It's like if you're not operating in a world of inferences, then you're operating in a world of heuristics and approximations. Inductive affords some sort of legitimacy to heuristics and approximations that they don't deserve. Okay, TE, look, 60% of hats cause cancer is neither TE nor TI. Okay, that's a statement of fact, let's say. Let's say it is a fact. So that's a fact that both TE and TI users will use to make arguments potentially. So proceed. What arguments do you think the TI user will make with that statement of fact, and what arguments do you think the TE user will make with that statement of fact? I'm trying to say, what does that mean? If you say, I like to get to the bottom, you're right. What does that mean to get to the bottom or to be on the bottom? Well, what would the equivalent, if TE said 60% of hats cause cancer, then what would the equivalent thing the TI says be? What would the corollary for TI be? I was looking for a physical science, and MBTI was a definition of aspects of the human psyche. It took me a while to get that. Right, it's not a physical science, and cognitive functions comprise, first and foremost, a taxonomy of human attention. And when presented that, first and foremost, people shouldn't really have a problem with the notion of it, because it's simply, well, what, talk to give me some expression of attention, and let's see if it doesn't fit into one of these things, You want the truth, but would TE not want the same? I would say that no, it's a different understanding of what truth is. Extroverted thinking. For extroverted thinking, the truth is the same thing as the outcome, the reality. I fixed the door. Hooray! It's true. That's my TE has worked. I failed to fix the door. Boo! My TE has not worked. TI will collect the information and consciously structure the views around it over time, whereas TE interfaces the conclusion using all the present knowledge they currently have, right? No, it's again, it's hard to compare the two because TI is a deliberation function and TE is an interface function. Comparing the two against each other is difficult as a consequence. This is the thing. Again, a TE user and a TI user would both say the same thing. If 60% of hats cause cancer, then we should either not wear hats at all or separate out those ones that cause cancer and get rid of them so that we can wear hats. Both types of people would say the same thing on that instance. Hi, NEH. I'm fine. The thing to remember is TE is an interface function. TE doesn't come into play until there's a problem or a desired outcome or something like that in front of the person. This kind of conversation about what this symbol means and that symbol means is generally of limited interest to TE users, except insofar as they need to do that process in order to have some sort of understanding to enable them to move forward on some goal or outcome. Interface functions are not deliberation functions. Just like it's like saying, well, a TI user would say meow meow meow, but an FE user would say meow meow meow. If we look at it in terms of TI and FE users, where's Ghostwriter? I don't see Ghostwriter. Is Ghostwriter here? Oh, NEH is Ghostwriter? Oh, this is Ghostwriter. It says right there. I should just look with my eyes. It would help sometimes. Empirical, originating and or based on observation or experience, empirical data. Okay, so right. TE is fundamentally empirical. Okay, it is empirical. And TI is not empirical. That doesn't mean TI won't use empirics. Certainly it will. Sometimes it'll demand empirics. A TI user has, just as a TE user, is able to communicate about empirics. Once empirics become a matter of communication, then they become as much TI as they are TE because they're arguments that you can use. But actually doing empirics and caring about the empirics, that's a TE thing, because then you care about empirics for a reason. You're trying to accomplish something specific. You're not just trying to know what's correct, what's defensible. The best way to think about TI and TE is TI is what's defensible. TE is what works. Okay, but of course that's very reductive to say that. A better way to say it is TI users will use their deliberation function to determine whether something is communicatively defensible or not. TE users will use their TE interface function to solve problems and attain outcomes. I would say TE-NI is the same as the NI-TE, pretty much. No, CJ. Things that are empirical are not necessarily more defensible. Remember that as soon as empirics become communicatively rendered, they are just as useful to TI users as they are to TE users, because they then become objects in communicative expressions. So, like, let's say there's some empirical evidence that the TE user is using to justify some sort of outcome. Well, then the TI users can say, okay, now you're communicating about that. It's no longer just used to justify your own actions and outcomes. It's used to yourself. It's used to justify it to other people, and I can critique it and either determine whether it does in fact justify or it doesn't, and ask other questions about how it is this thing is justified. Swing trading. Is it like wife swapping or something? Wife swapping. What a funny expression for an awful notion. The thing is, empirics is one way to justify things. The problem is, empirics are very good at justifying things that you want to do for your own reasons. They're very bad at justifying public policy, and people try to use them to justify public policy all the time. Only very rarely is it actually a good justification for public policy, because people are very bad at making predictions about impacts of things. Look at the COVID shit, right? That's a TE justification, a TEFI justification. It's like, here's this problem we're articulating and some impacts that are bad that we are articulating, and here's some impacts that are good that we're articulating if we do what we say. And we're going to ignore all the other impacts. That's the problem with TE. It doesn't concern itself whether something's communicatively defensible, because it doesn't concern itself with interests universally. It concerns itself with interests that it's articulated and no other. That's the problem with TE people making public policy decisions. They don't get that. Absolutely, COVID's a TE thing. This is exactly what happens when you have TEFI deciding public policy. I'll explain the process. FI goes, something precious is threatened. TE goes, oh shit. If precious thing is lost, terrible things will happen. And if precious thing is retained, if we do this thing, precious thing will be retained. And then TI users go, hold on. If precious thing is lost, we may get those outcomes. But if we do your thing, precious thing will be lost in other ways. If we do your thing, we'll also get these other bad outcomes. And we don't even know for sure if precious thing will be lost. So you're saying, if it's lost, what's the chance it's going to be lost? And all this other thing stuff, right? And then, of course, the biggest problem for TE and public policy is the refusal to acknowledge unintended outcomes. The presumption of TE is that you can ignore things that are not relevant to your particular problem. In other words, when I'm walking over there to dig up worms in the dirt, I walk across the lawn and I don't worry about those bugs that I'm stepping on, because I have a TE frame. I'm worried about my problem that I'm solving here. I'm digging up worms over there. Am I worried about the worms? No. Am I worried about the bugs I'm walking on to get over there? No. Am I worried about anything like that? No. It's a TE thing. If, in fact, I've successfully dug up worms and it's been a successful mission. Doesn't matter how many pill bugs I stepped on the way there. They're not part of my consideration. A TI frame is one that is communicatively defensible. So it has to consider whether this is going to be universally acceptable as well as personally acceptable. So when in this COVID shit, they said, well, essential businesses can stay open. They stepped on all the people, all the bugs. They stepped on a lot of bugs, right? Why, it's like the sporting goods store owner. He's deemed not essential. He's just a bug we're stepping on to get to our accomplished goal. It doesn't matter what happens to him. And of course, this is true for shit tons of people who are harmed by the way that the COVID thing was handled. What was the correct thing to do? Well, now that we know enough, we know what the correct thing was to do, for sure. Was let it run its course. Period. That's it. Let it run its course. That's what we should have done. It would have been the approach that would have had the fewest net harms. Wear masks, sure, I guess. A better approach would be let it run its course. Wearing masks is stupid. If you're going to have people eating together in restaurants, then wearing masks is pointless because they have to take their masks off to eat, right? So what's the best thing to do? Let it run its course. Because as soon as you start trying to do something else, like, well, maybe if we just curtail meow, 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 people go, well, that won't work unless we also curtail meow, meow, meow. And before you know it, we've got this clusterfuck of a disaster we have with COVID. Why? Because people used TE for public policy rather than TI. Time is already told, emailed Anthrax about the COVID thing. My debate tournaments this spring were already canceled. Those kids who had been, working all middle school towards their 8th grade year to try to get a national championship in some debate event, that chance is gone forever. They'll never have another chance. That's their last year of eligibility in middle school. That's a minor example of what happened billions of times all the world over. Add up all those harms. Those are real harms. They count too. Only TE users think they don't count. And the reason is because they're driven by FI. They have their thing that they think is precious, and everybody else can go fuck themselves. But everyone thinks life is precious, Eric. Let it run its fucking course. People die, for God's sakes. Public policy only, Fate Wind, not everything. FI has its place, for sure. And it is absolutely not their own public policy, where things need to be thought out correctly. People like you, Fate Wind, are responsible for this COVID fuck up. This massive fucking disastrous COVID nonsense that we've been doing. Because you don't care who you hurt to get the goal you want. That's the difference between TI and FI. FITE, they don't care who they hurt, who they steamroll, who they run over, who they stomp to get what they want. TI users are fair. Now, FI definitely has its place in life. It is absolutely not public policy. It's your personal life. That's where you need to use FI. In dealing with people of lots of places in life, you need to use FI. It is not true that we should use FI and TE to justify public policy. There's an order of operation. It works like this. First and foremost, we determine whether or not something is legitimate as public policy. In other words, does it violate rights? If it does, we nix it as a possible outcome. Now, if it doesn't, if it passes TI muster, then we can use TE to justify things. Okay, so it's legitimate. In other words, it's non-rights violating. So how are we going to make it more effective? Then we use TE. Okay, what are we working on? We use FI to determine what's important, true, as a problem. Okay, but what I have here is an order of operations in which everything is afforded its legitimate place. FI tells us what's important. TI tells us what's legitimate. TE tells us what's effective. In that order. Do you understand what I'm saying, Fate Wind? The problem is not that TE is in public policy. It's that it occurs at the justification phase where TI should be predominant. Okay? FI tells us what problems we need to solve. TI tells us whether the proposed solution is legitimate or not. If it's not, we go no further. TE tells us, okay, so TI would tell us that the mask solution is legitimate if it's done in certain ways, okay? And that would have passed TI muster. It would have sustained TE muster. In other words, it would have been likely enough to be effective that we should try it. And then that would have been a good policy. It is within TI, it passes muster for TI scrutiny that the government might regulate it such that businesses require or other public places require that rather than trying to force every individual human being to wear a mask when they go outside, which is, I think, that would not pass TI muster. There are other ways to accomplish the same goal that do. And then we can get to the TE part. TE presents a possible solution to TI. TI determines whether it's legitimate or not. If it's rights violating or if it's, TI TINE goes, well, what about all these unintended consequences? And TDE goes, no, we don't think about that. No, we don't think about anything but our goal. Of course he does, Dark Phoenix. Trump makes all kinds of decisions by himself. That's why do you think there was so much turnover in his administration early on? Because he got rid of everybody who ever disagreed with him. Okay, when I'm not being cognitive function, the president is not SCTI. The president is SEFI. He's an ESFP. Trump is not an ESTP. Trump is an ESFP. Straight up ESFP, no doubt about it. I'm not being cognitive function biased. I am affording every function its appropriate role. You're being biased by thinking that your functions that you prefer should do everything. I'm not lying. Why the fuck would you accuse me of lying? Like, what in the world did I say that you possibly consider a lie? Look, where do you see any TI in Trump? There's none. He never justifies anything with TI. When asked why COVID's not really a threat or something, he said, I just have a hunch. I just feel it. There's no TI there at all. When he does what he thinks is important. He uses his feelings all the time. He doesn't care about what's defensible at all. He cares about how he looks. That's FE6. You see that demonstrative 6 slot FE. That's the one thing that might convince you as an ESTP is you might think that's a 3rd slot FE, and that'd be a reasonable mistake to make. It was a mistake I made early on. But no, there's absolutely no TI there whatsoever. It's all FI. Yeah, FI people think too, Fate Wind. They just have a different relationship with their thoughts than TI people. It's not like they don't think things. Feelings are expressed in thoughts by feelers and thinkers alike. He covers his bold molder head? I don't know what that means. Okay, look, the point is Trump is not a TI user. Obviously, he's TI polar. Duh. Like, and it's instrumental. It matters only when he wants it to matter, you know? Trump is he's intuitive? No, guys. Okay, you guys don't know shit about shit. That's crazy talk. That is crazy talk. Talk is cheap. The time for talk is over. Time for actions now. It's just, come on. No, not all TI users are great. Not all FI users are terrible. But you're lying to yourself, Fate Wind, if you think that Trump's displayed any TI at all. You know that. Even you know that. Come on. That's ridiculous. We all know that Trump's not displayed any TI. TI is justifying yourself. It justifies things. And Trump is the poster boy of not justifying himself. No, Taylor agrees with me that Trump's SEFI. Taylor thinks he's an ESFP too. You're wrong about that, Fate Wind. He's definitely SEFI. So I don't really want to argue about it anymore. You can disagree with me if you want. Then you're probably not going to get a lot of other things right either because you don't understand TI well. I've seen plenty of Trump to know. I don't need to research anymore. No, I don't want to do that right now. Rachel is sleeping and doing fantastic. PP is sleeping and doing fantastic. I will say that what has always made me not think ESP Trump is like a TI. Right. I mean, he obviously doesn't have any. And it's he's either TI polar or NI polar, right? He doesn't give a fuck about the truth either. That's who has no concept of words meaning things across time. ESFPs. He's like Cloud. He just says random shit. Isn't he very Cloud-like? Think about it, Pete Wind. When I say Cloud, you go, oh yeah, Trump is a lot like Cloud. Yeah, I can't figure out he could be a real person either. It's ESFPs, man. Some of them are just like a disaster. Not all of them, but some of them. Like Casey Anthony. Casey Anthony is an ESFP. You know, a compulsive liar. The other thing to note is that when asked for explanations for things, he provides 6 slot FE. Right. I mean, he does not value words at all. Trump doesn't. But I really don't want to argue about his type. Should be pretty obvious, I think. His type is, but whatever. People think whatever they think. And yeah, I'm so tired of arguing about cognitive functions. I'm so tired of trying to see people think they're arguing with me, but really it's like they're in need of remedial instruction on math. They're in the math class and they're telling the teacher that they know better than them. That's what it is. And it's annoying. See, Fate Wind? You have not yet mastered long division. You've come to my math class and you're telling me that you divide by adding and it's just our opinions and you're right. And because of the nature of cognitive functions, you can persist in that delusion more easily than you can in others. So that's why I don't like arguing about them. Oh, that's possible. Hey, Wind, talk about projecting. I am not meme typing at all. I'm the one who's saying, where's the process analysis here? Show me the TI process in action in somewhere. Show me a work product that would represent somebody who is using TI to make decisions. So I'm not, when you say you're meme typing, that's just patently false, right? You're just projecting or something. I don't even think you're projecting because I don't think you're meme typing either. I think you're attached to the idea that Trump's TI. I mean, it's ridiculous to say I'm meme typing. I agree he's not an NE user. He's SEFI. I don't know about Pence. We have people like to wind me up. I figure it's good training. I'm better at managing that sort of thing than I used to be. Like, I'm not going to let myself get dragged down into it too deep. But I am also, Clinton is not an ESFP. Clinton is an ENFJ. It might be an ESFJ, but I'm pretty sure Clinton's an ENFJ. I know we're talking about Bill Clinton. Yeah, I'm talking about Bill Clinton too. Bill Clinton is not an ESFP. You don't have, if you think Bill Clinton's an ESFP, you really need to go back to cognitive function kindergarten. Hillary might be an INTJ. She might be an ISTJ. Fate Land, you got no chops. Sean Ryan Barron, can you elaborate on that? Elaborate on what? His FE's too good. His FE's too good. 6-slot FE looks like Trump. 6-slot FE is very divisive. Censors will generally buy Trump's FE because Bill Clinton's FE is broadly appealing to both censors and intuitives. Whereas, but there's lots of other reasons. There's no way Bill Clinton was an ESFP. It's not like he's got a whole lot of TI up in the mix either, though. It's 4th slot. But he's nuanced in his FE in ways that Trump has never dreamed of being. He didn't lose his key men. He got rid of them. Most of them. He lost some of them. He got rid of those who disagreed with him. He lost those who disagreed with them because he didn't respond well to them. Well, I mean, I think he's an ENFJ, Fate Wind. And yeah, ENFJs are can be a little bit promiscuous. Yeah, I mean, Trump's just bumblefucked this thing from day one. Bill Clinton getting polished in the White House is I think it's better if you split screen your live stream for these kinds of debates. What do you mean split screen it? Okay, let's move on. I mean, I think lots of presidents probably didn't sleep around, and probably lots of presidents did. Well, Fate Land, you're feeling very adversarial this morning, and I understand that. You often do, and that's your prerogative. What types are likely to engage in role-playing fetishes. I'm of the mindset that that it's a 6-slot thing. People like to have their 6th slot in sex. So if you've got 6-slot FE, for example, that's likely to play out as like boss secretary kind of fetishes. I mean, more like no. Let me change. Let me fix that. A 6-slot FE is more likely to be like I guess just a maybe like stuff like wanting to be called degrading names and stuff. That's possible. 6-slot TE would be wanting to make sex into like a task, order of operations kind of thing, like have a clipboard. 6-slot extroverted intuition would probably be the freakiest. ENTJs and ENFJs, I would guess. 6-slot. Okay, there you. That's how you know, Dark Phoenix. That's one way you know right away that Fate Wind has no business typing anybody. They say they need a photo of you. That's not how you type people, Fate Wind. If you need to look, then you're doing it wrong. Okay. Okay, well, Fate Wind, I will agree with you that if you're going to use visual typing, INFJs is pretty reliable on, actually, relatively, compared to other people, or to other types. You're right about Sean Reinberg. INFJs do tend to look like INFJs. I think you're right about him. I don't remember what he is actually, but possibly. But remember, of course, Fate Wind, visual typing, even if correct, is not defensible, so is useless. You think Fate Wind is right about you being an INFJ? I like my 6-slot satiated by a 6-slut in sex. Well, maybe you want to call her degrading names. I don't know. You tell me, CJ O'Connell. You know, maybe you want to tell her how awkward she is. Oh my God, you're so awkward. You make me cringe. That makes me so horny. No, that's to me correctly identifying typology as an area in which we need defensibility. It's not like soccer. Okay, in soccer, you're right. I don't need to defend my ability to. I don't need to defend my ability to run to the goal and shoot the ball. I just need to do it. Right. That's a big difference. Is if I scored the goal, it doesn't matter if I don't need to defend the way I went about doing it. It doesn't matter because the goal's been scored. That's soccer. That's a place where SE matters, right? But this is not such a place. So defensibility matters in this context. I guess NI 6-slot. If you had NI 6-slot, then I guess you'd be like, it would be all about timing, maybe, or maybe it would be like, you're a liar. Oh yeah, that turns me on. You lying liar! You don't care about the truth. Oh my God, I'm so horny. Like that. It would be like that. What's 6-slot TI gonna be like? It's gonna be like, be unfair to me. Oh my God, be more unfair. It is so arousing when you were unjust in your assessments of things. Contradict yourself again. Contradict yourself harder. Okay, I'll sing Stacy's Mom for your favorite. Boy, that's very nice of you. Let me find the chords and lyrics. I mean, if she maybe it will if she's got 6-slot FE, or maybe her calling you awkward will make her horny. It's hard to say. 6-slot FI. See, this is the thing. It's like INFJs and ISFJs, according to this thing here, according to this little theory, is they're gonna want authentic making love. But of course, with FI polar, I'm not really that into that, you know. It's like I don't really get that whole, oh, I love you, darling, I love you too. I mean, I have my own way of it, but you know what I'm saying. Important things, right? Yes, correct. Saying important things. As usual. All right. Stacy, can I come over after school? We can hang around by the pool. Did your mom get back from a business trip? Was she there, or is she trying to give me the slip? Not a cry, but I used to be. Can't you see? Stacy's mom has got it going on. All I want, and I'm waiting so long. Stacy, can't you see that you're not the girl for me? I know it might be wrong, but I'm in love with Stacy's mom. Do you remember when I mowed your lawn? Your mom came out with just a tie. I could tell, likes me from the way she stared, and the way she said, "You missed the spot over there." And I know it's fantasy, but since you tell, I'll tell you, you the guy like me. Stacy's mom got it going on. She's all I want, and I've waited so long. Stacy, can't you see that you're not the girl for me? I know it might be wrong, but I'm in love with Stacy's mom. And it modulates. Stacy's mom has got it going on. She's all I want, and I've waited for so long. Stacy, can't you see that you're not the girl for me? I know it might be wrong, but I'm in love with Stacy's mom. Fountains of Wayne. Yes, I love Stacy's mom. I'm going to play another cover, though, that I like to play now, I think. Anybody else have a request? I'm going to play, I was thinking about playing For the Longest Time by Billy Joel, which is a cover I really enjoy playing. But maybe I'll play a different cover. Let's see. There's some song I wanted to learn how to play, wanted to play the cover. Let's see if there's any requests. Any requests? I don't know Alien and Farm Smooth Criminal. I don't know that song. What's a good cover to play? Yeah, it's a good enough cover to play, I guess. If you said goodbye to me tonight, there would still be music left to write. What else could I do? I'm so inspired by you. That hasn't happened for the longest time. Once I thought my innocence was gone. Now I know that happiness goes on. That's where you found me when you put your arms around me. I haven't been there for the longest time. Whoa, 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 whoa. For the longest time. Whoa, whoa, whoa. For the longest time. That voice you're hearing in the hall. And the greatest miracle of all is how I need you and how you needed me too. That hasn't happened for the longest time. Scroll down. Maybe this won't last very long. Maybe this won't last very long. But you feel so right and I could be wrong. Maybe I've been hoping too hard, but I've come this far. More than I've hoped for. Who knows how much further we'll go on. Maybe I'll be sorry when you're gone. I'll take my chances. I forgot how nice romance is. I haven't been there for the longest time. I had second thought from the start. I said to myself, hold on to your heart. Now I know the woman that you are. You're wonderful so far, and it's more than I hoped for. I don't care what consequence it brings. I have been a fool for lesser things. I want you so bad. I think that you ought to know that I intend to hold you for the longest time. Oh, Billy Joel, do you really intend to hold me for the longest time? Because I've got stuff to do, and you've been holding me for the longest time now. It is, wow. Thanks, Fate Wind. You are the proverbial bomb. You know what? It makes all of my argumentationally robust banter back and forth with you worth it. It really does. Thank you. A Whole New World from Aladdin. I could play that, actually. I have the book. I have the songbook for Aladdin around here somewhere. I have the songbook for Aladdin. I have the songbook for Nightmare Before Christmas. The official ones that Disney put out. So I have the sheet music for them. I can play them. Thanks, Fate Wind. The Beach Boys, Good Vibrations with all the key changes. That sounds hard. That sounds very hard. I do not know the song Lateralis by Tool. I do not know that song. Let's discuss some musicians types. Okay. Like, here's one area where I have an opinion where most people disagree with. I am of the mindset that Kurt Cobain is an INFJ, not an INFP. Was. Let's see. The lead singer of Red Hot Chili Peppers, ESFP. Oh, I'm sure they are very difficult, Beach Boys tracks. Okay, he could be an ISFP. Are you talking about Kurt Cobain or the lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers? No, Kurt Cobain's an INFJ. I'm quite convinced of it. But I can understand why people would disagree. Red Hot Chili Peppers leader, I'm pretty sure the singer is an ESFP. Anthony, whatever his name is. Joni Mitchell, ENFP. Selling Sunset. What's Selling Sunset? Is it a real estate reality show? I actually think she's an extrovert. I'm pretty sure Joni Mitchell's an extrovert. I've seen some interviews with her, and she seems like an extrovert to me. But if it would not shock me if Joni Mitchell were an INFP. But I think she's an ENFP. See, musicians. Well, like Dr. Dre is probably an INFJ. Jay-Z, possibly an ESTP, possibly an INFJ. Eminem, ENTP. Kendrick Lamar, INFJ. Let's see. Donald Fagen, INTP from Steely Dan. Walter Becker from Steely Dan, also INTP. Who's Brian May? Is he? I don't know who that is. Yeah, I like the Beatles. I don't like Dylan. The Beatles, well, John Lennon is an NE user. Paul McCartney's an ENFJ. Like stone cold, cut and dry. Ringo is probably an ISFJ. And George Harrison is probably an INFP, possibly an INTP. Queen, Freddie Mercury, ENFJ, for sure. McCartney is not an ISFP. Paul McCartney is as ENFJ as they get. Harrison, not an ISFP. He definitely got NE. When you look at the songs he writes, Star, I don't know. Ringo Starr is definitely not an ISTP. He's definitely FE, but I'm pretty sure it's ISFJ. All right. Well, look, a lot of the is Harrison an ISFP? I will say this. I have the least amount of strong feelings about what Harrison is than I do about the others. McCartney is definitely ENFJ. Lennon, INFP seems right to me, but I'm not absolutely sure. Ringo, I'm also quite confident Ringo is an SFJ. I can sort of smell the quadramates, you know. Yeah, I agree. Lennon's a heavy NE type. He might be an ENFP though. I think is possible, but INFP possibly more likely. I don't think he killed himself. I don't think Cobain killed himself. I think Courtney Love killed him. You know, is he emotionally volatile and detached? I mean, I guess I don't really know enough about Ringo to be super firm about it. I guess to be perfectly honest, the only Beatle that I have absolute confidence about is Paul McCartney. He's an ENFJ. Let's see, what other bands and musicians can I talk about? One of the people I'm very interested in right now, and who's quite a good artist, and I'm very impressed by her, is this woman, Tessa Violet. She's a musician. I'm trying to figure out what type she is. And I can't figure it out. I'm not sure. Why don't I like Dylan? Too much NE, too little NI. Which is interesting because I think Dylan's an INFJ. Who fell apart, kind of. But Dylan's an ISFP? Okay. That would make sense too, actually. It probably makes more sense than INFJ that fell apart. Because, like, he was on the pulse for a second, but it lasted a second, and then he was bitter the rest of his life. Lou Reed's INFJ for sure. Jimmy Moran, I get the sense that you don't necessarily, you aren't. Right, I don't have a firm. I mean, look, I don't feel it's any more likely that he killed himself than that Courtney Love killed him. And based on the way things happened after his death, it sure makes it seem like Courtney Love killed him. That is crazy to say that Lou Reed's an ISTP is insane. You're going to get a lot of famous musicians are going to be INFJs or possibly ENFJs because they have NIFE. That's the most resonant universally as far as aesthetics goes. Like SFP artist who's not too bad is Adam Levine from Maroon 5. Let's see who. An SFJ artist who was pretty successful, Blake Shelton, probably an ESFJ. I'm not sure what to say about Iggy Pop. I don't know enough about him. I mean, ISTPs, to the extent they're going to be great artists, is not going to generally be in something that requires a lot of ideational generation on a regular basis. it could be a very good instrument player potentially, but not necessarily a great artist, I think. ESTP musical artists are not very common. But my drummer was one in my band. He was an excellent drummer. Madonna. Yeah, Madonna's an ESTP. I'd buy that. I'd buy that for sure. I got a poop brewing. I feel like it's growing in my buttocks like a newborn babe in the womb of a woman. Gathering. Will it emerge breech? Let's hope not. You don't want your poop to come out breech. Breech poop is sideways poop. If instead of coming out like this, it somehow comes out like this, then that's called breech poop. And, that's a lot of cleanup afterwards. A lot of cleanup. That's a multi wiper. A chest burster? Boy, that would be a lot of poop indeed. I've already discovered that the insides of my intestines can hold way more poop than you'd think. It's like sometimes I poop, I'm like, where the hell was all that poop? How is all that poop up in me? And it wasn't like a big old bar in front of me, a big ball of poop you could see in my stomach or something. Well, the answer is my intestines have a high capacity. I have high capacity intestines. They can hold a lot of poop. I don't care how good you think your toilet is. I can clog it. Okay, I can clog your toilet. You just get me on the right day, I can clog your toilet. Doesn't matter how powerful it is. You could have a toilet designed to flush horse poops. Don't poo on a fan. Good suggestion. NEH, that's kind of a universal rule. Don't shit on a whirling fan. It's a good universal rule. Keep it secret, keep it safe. Poos are not solid, but poops are. You know what, CJ O'Connell? You just really did something there. I think you're right. And I think that should become the convention. I'll tell you what I hate. Tell me if you hate this as well. The times when you poop and it's a bunch of little balls instead of one poop, I hate that. I'm not putting paper towels in the toilet. Email Anthrax, I'm not. I'm not. Okay, I'm standing right now so the poop will fall. It's terrible when you get a bunch of little balls. Yeah, it's terrible. You're like, that's not a poop. What is that? Come on. That doesn't count as a poop. It means you need more fiber. I haven't had that occur in a while. But you might become skeptical, but there's no reason to be for me. Because like I said, I'm not a regular pooper, okay? Oh, is that what the problem is, Annie? See, I'm not gonna lie, Annie. Back when I was a teenager, nobody explained to me how I was supposed to use tampons. I was embarrassed to ask, so I've just been figuring it out ever since, you know? I figure I wait until Rachel starts using hers. I figure that must be the time that I just put one up my butt and figure I guess that's what people do. I've not actually seen any blood, but I guess that's the purpose of the tampon, is to soak up all the blood. So, Okay, but now I know. Thank you for informing me. Don't put those down in the toilet. Right, gotcha. I'll remember that this time. It's weird. It's like, Mom, why didn't you ever have that conversation about what to do about my menstrual cycle? My menstrual cycle and me is a one-act play I'm going to be putting on. Would you guys like to buy tickets to it? My menstrual cycle? I'm not sure how much of a menstrual cycle I have. Maybe I do. I have a cycle for sure. Men have periods too. Don't oppress me. Don't deny me my right to a menstruation. Everyone deserves a chance to menstruate, to bleed down from the undercarriage below. Don't try to tell me that I must have a uterine lining to let my uterine lining go. Yes, I'm menstruating today, so go away. I'm moody and I'm sad. Put me in a tent outside and you'll be very glad. Oh, it's a happy flow day. Dark blood pouring down my hairy legs. All the people just stay away, they say. Eric, you're so fussy and mad today. And I say, well, oh hey, it's come. I've learned to menstruate. Menstruation. It's part of what it means to be a woman. Hi, I'm Sarah. Today, I'm going to be giving us all a talk about our monthly friend, our visitor, Aunt Flo, as it's sometimes called. That's right. Today, we're going to be talking about menstruation. Now, for all of you young ladies who are still waiting for that visit, you are probably a little nervous. Is it going to hurt? What's it going to be like? Well, let me tell you, it doesn't hurt. Just a little. What it does is it means you are now a woman, okay? Part of being a woman is every month we go back to our roots, go back to the earth. We let the earth come up into us and we return to the earth. We do this on a monthly basis. And we do this so that we have renewal within our uterus of our uterine lining. The reason is, right now, ladies, your current uterine lining is rotting inside of you. And you're going to need to expel it soon. And the way we do that is we bleed. We bleed right out the old hoo-ha. Not normal blood. It's darker than that. It's got little chunks of goo in it, too. What are those chunks of goo? That's your uterine lining. Yeah. Any questions? Um, yes, Julie. Um, what should we use? A pad? Well, we do have to sop up the blood with something. So there's a variety of blood diapers available for us ladies. Some of them are pads like that. You just put it right there. It just catches all that blood. What do you do with it? You throw it in the trash can. Don't flush it down the toilet. Okay. Also, wrap it up in something because it's going to gross out everybody who's not a female. So anyway, when you get a little older, if you want to, you can use what's called a tampon. It's like a finger, kind of. It's a finger that you put up inside of your special pocket, and it catches up all of the blood and the uterine lining. Now, you don't want to leave that in there for too long, or you will get something called toxic shock. Okay, don't want that. All right, now let's talk about boys. So, what you're going to discover as you blossom into a young lady is that boys are going to want to come over and touch you and look at you and stuff. You just wag your finger at them and say, no, no, no. I am currently menstruating. Boys never have any idea. You could tell them you're menstruating 6 times a month and they wouldn't put it together. You're lying. Also, remember, boys are filthy. Filthy, filthy. They're dirty, dirty, filthy creatures. If you decide at some point in your late 20s to become sexually active, then you may find that there is a special boy whom you love very much, and you're going to want to engage in something called sexual intercourses. When a man makes sexual intercourses at a woman, it is a very special moment, a special time of love, of tenderness, and also of penetration. So that's what tampons are for. They get you broken in a little bit so that when a man puts his special part in there, that you won't be alarmed. Okay, any questions? Yes, Mary. What's a man's special part? Well, you know how between our legs, all we have is just this little, basically flatness, except for these two little lip bumpy things, and then inside there's a hole there. Well, boys have something that pokes out instead. Instead of being concave, it's convex. What's convex mean? It's the opposite of concave. What's concave mean? It's the opposite of convex. Now, one of the qualities of things that are convex is an inclination to dangle. Things that dangle are convex. Boys dangle. How do you know when a boy is about to put his special part in your special pocket? Well, you know that because it's no longer dangling. It's standing upright and pushing at you in an urgent and insistent fashion. And the stuff that comes out of there, that's what summons the stork. Okay, so now that you guys all know about sexual intercourse, yes, that's right. What does it feel like? Well, you're going to feel a brief tingling sensation, and just close your eyes and say, it'll be over soon, it'll be over soon, it'll be over soon. And as soon as you feel a bunch of gooey stuff on your face, you know it's over. Ew! What cognitive function do I need? A Ferresi? I don't know. 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 You just close your eyes, put your hands over your ears, and say, I hope he's done with this dirty business soon. And you say, special place, special place, special place, special place, special place, special place. And then, hey, oh, it's over. Good. Man seed is what it's called. Emailed anthrax. Yes, Annie? What if I have an insatiable thirst for man seed? The stork then makes a semen nest in your nostril and lays your egg. Is that how it works? Oh, yes, correct. Good. He sits there, the stork then sits on the egg for, 15 minutes or so until it hatches. The woman has to lie very still. Apparently it stings. And then you push the egg up into the vagina, and that's why the baby grows in the stomach. That's the role of the stork in this whole matter. I'm glad to know that. So Ghost Rider, apparently, that's what I've heard. Annie H., you missed it. You missed the opportunity to hang out with me and Rachel and Hambone. You had one job, Annie H., and you blew it. Hambone made an effort too. Well, the reason it stings is because all the sperms try to fertilize the eyeball. I need to make I should be working on that video right now, frankly. It was great. It was an interesting trip. It was fun. It made me very happy to see how much Rachel enjoys, her role, basically, which is now we travel places, it's Eric and Rachel. Well, see, this is the thing. The reason it stings, email anthrax, is because while the sperms are trying to fertilize the lady's eyeball, the eyeball doesn't want to be fertilized. It's not made to be fertilized. Like the ovum doesn't sting when it gets fertilized because it's made to be fertilized. It's designed for sperms to climb up into it. They just bore little holes into a woman's eyeball without accomplishing anything. There are no ovums inside of a woman's eyeball. Ova. I'm sorry, ova. Anyway, changing the subject to back to the trip a bit here. Rachel really thrives in that kind of circumstance. It's a nice kind of situation for an INFJ, I think, because she's getting plenty of SE for her NI to NI about and social engagement. It's consistent with her fifth slot NE validating because it's new stuff, and it makes it easier for me to engage too. Being part of a couple going to visit somebody is a lot safer. Like host Eric and his girlfriend are coming to visit me is generally a lot safer than this old man's coming to visit me. Sounding, sounds safer. Time for bong rips? You're right. I'm gonna play this Kyra song that Rachel and I have been working on. We don't have anything recorded yet, but we've been working on the vocal line that's going to go here and stuff, and the arrangement of this. I've arranged it a little bit differently now. Obviously, there's some rough spot there I need to fix. So I'm having arrangement issues with this, obviously. But it's all part of the process. It's all part of the trial and error. As I try to figure out, like, okay, well, how do I transition from this to this more smoothly? What do I need to change? Let's see. Okay. Anyway, that's something I want to work on, and there's something else I got to work on, music-wise too, that I'm interested in bringing out some more from it. Namely, this. Like there's a crash of rhinos, a knot, a toes, a porcupines, or a prickle that are crowding up. That's not lined up properly. Like there's a crash of rhinos. Like there's a crash of rhinos. There's a crash of rhinos, a knot, a toes, porcupines, or a prickle. there's a crash of rhinos. Like there's a crash of rhinos. Like there's a crash of rhinos, a knot, a toes, porcupines are a prickle that are crowding the roads, and by a drove of pigs, and you'll. Like there's a crash of rhinos, a knot, a toes, porcupines are a prickle that are crowding the roads, and by a drove of pigs, and you'll get team of oxen, safe to smack a jellyfish caught up in flotsam. Cause owls hold parliament just like the Brits, but no labor's worth the moles, folks labor on this, and leave murders in conspiracy, use monkeys and troops, turning my family on bars into hot odyssey. Like animal groupings. I got a cat named Capito, a dog named Bird. Cassiopeia is the name of my bird. No clouder for the cat, and birds no pack, but Cassie crows in a murder while feathered and black.
How it's supposed to be lined up anymore.
Beast of the animal kingdom arise.
Ira. Goes, this is the type of bass that leaves a hole in your speaker. A hole in your speaker. Goes, this is the type of bass that leaves a hole in your speaker. This is the type of bass that leaves a hole in your speaker. A hole in your speaker. Oops, I don't have the loop set up quite right. There's an extra little thing. I gotta get rid of that if it's gonna be correct. I've gotta see where the thing is there. It's right, probably right here. Over where? Right here. Maybe, yeah, right here. Now it's correct. If you want to be correct, you gotta do it right. If you want to do it right, you gotta time it like that. You gotta put to the side over there. Not there, that's too far. Where? There, it's correct now. Should be. Ooh. Ah. I got a cat named Capillo, a dog named Ferd. Cassiopeia is the name of my bird. No clouder for the cat. Bird's no pack, but Cassie proves the murder while feathered and black. There's a herd of cattle and a flock of birds, school of fish and the wriggle of worms. Bats are colonial, bees are swarmy. A quiver's worth of cobra resin making me horny. Lions in a pride. Lions in a pride, exaltation of doves. A shit ton of slides and one pair of gloves. Bottle whale, bottom paste, sneak up, hide in my face, catch a slew of blue jays just fixing the race. There's a crash of rhinos, a knot of toads. Porcupines are a prickle crowd on the road. By a drove of pigs, a team of oxen, smack of jellyfish, caught up in flotsam. Household parliament, just like the Brits, but no labor worth the moles, votes labor on this. Lemurs and conspiracy, the monkeys and troops, turn my family of otters into fresh otter soup. You know that extra thing in there. What is that? And why? What is that? And why? How? When? Where? Why? Let's see. Down. No, that's not right. Like this, Eric. Like this, Eric. I got a cat named Capio and a dog named Bird. Cassiope is the name of my bird. No cloud for the cat and furs no pie. But Cassie for the murder wild feathered and black. Herd of cattle, flock of birds, school of fish and the regular worm. Bats are colonial, bees are swarmy. Rivers with a couple of that's making me horny. Lions in a pride, exaltation of doves. Shit ton of slides, one pair of gloves. Bought a whale spotting bait, sneak up by my face. Catch a slew of blue jays at fixing the race. Blue crash of rounds and a knot of toes. Porcupines, pickle, crowding road. Blue pigs and a team of oxen. Smack the jellyfish caught up and flop some more. These are some animal groupings. Oh, these are some animal groupings. Oh, some animal groupings. These are some animal groupings. Just household parliament, just like the Brits. No labels worth more votes on this. Lemurs and conspiracies of monkeys and troops turn families of otters into otter soup. Well, these are just animal groupings. I got a cat named Capio, a dog named Bird, and Cassiope is the name of my bird. No cloud for the cat, bird no fat. Cassie grows a murder with feathered and black. Cause they're for animal groupings. For example, there's a herd of cattle and a flock of birds, a school of fish and a regular worms. Bats are colonial, bees are swarmy, and the quivers with the flopper is making me horny. Why? Cause they got animal groupings. There's lions in the pride, exaltation of doves. The shit ton of slides, one pair of gloves. And the pod of whales, plot and paste, sneak up, hide my face, catch a slew of days fixing the race. But animal groupings. Crash of rhinos, not toads. Porcupines, prickle, crowding the roads. Buy a drove of pigs and a yoke of team of oxen. Smack a little jellyfish, got at the flight song. Cause they got animal groupings. And yeah. Household parliament, just like the Brits, but no labels worth of bowls. Votes labor on this and lemurs and conspiracies. Monkeys and troops turning my family pro otters for the out of soup tent. They're all got animal groupings. Babby gets bad, Babby is fun. Babby gets worse before she is done. Screams or growls, growls, and moans, the sobs of a scream. Back to one again, means the same dream. It's Babby got dropsy. Early last year, Babby was sloppy. She infected her ear and animal groupings. We all got animal groupings. All right. I have pucked around enough. I'm gonna analyze dreams up. It's time to go. Goodbye, my friend. Been nice hanging out with you again, but don't forget, it's electricity. So turn it off before you work on it. Electrical stuff, you gotta turn off that electricity before you work on it, or else you're gonna shock yourself. Also, avoid cold water. It's a watery grave.